Welcome to the Mother City for this 5th Strong Cities Global Summit. We are so delighted to have over 60 mayors and governors from around the world here in town for this important discussion. And I know that these 3 days of conversations are going to offer us valuable opportunities for sharing knowledge. As global conflicts around the world threaten to push us apart and away from one another, it's critical that we constantly work towards bridging divides and pulling people towards one another, countering extremism and building stronger and more cohesive societies in our cities. This concept of social cohesion takes on a very different meaning in different societies because we all have our own unique histories and contexts. As you can probably imagine, social cohesion has a particular importance for us here in South Africa, given our deeply fractured past and the damage caused by decades of apartheid government rule. During this time, South Africans were actually deliberately kept apart, and millions were denied basic human rights, including voting rights, property rights, and even the right to love and marry freely. Social cohesion did not exist. In fact, the direct opposite of social cohesion was systematically engineered into our society, and many could not believe that we would ever be able to bridge those divides, heal those wounds, and build a cohesive society. But incredibly, and despite all expectations, that is exactly what we did. Following our historic election in 1994, the 30th anniversary of which we celebrate this year, of course, we not only rebuilt our democracy and our economy, we also rebuilt the bonds of trust between South Africans that had been broken and missing for so long. That's what people mean by that wonderful phrase, the miracle of the Rainbow Nation. Because we know how damaging and dangerous it can be to live in a world where that is missing. The idea of social cohesion has become even more important to us and precious to us here. We are acutely aware of the dangers of polarization and the threats posed to our society by those who peddle division and hate. The other significant feature about South Africa is that we are an extremely diverse society, and this is particularly true here in Cape Town. You won't find many other metropolitan cities with Cape Town's diversity of languages, religions, races, culinary histories, and cultures. It is one of the things that makes our city so special and unique and interesting, but I also think it's one of the things that unites us and makes us stronger. Because we all live in this colorful melting pot all our lives. We've learned the importance of getting along, of accepting each other's customs and traditions, of respecting different points of view, and even more than that, of helping one another, of demonstrating neighborly generosity, and supporting one another through difficult times. Our schools, our places of work, our sports teams, our public spaces, all of these bring us into daily contact with people from every imaginable background. And this teaches us the importance of rejecting polarizing rhetoric and embracing our diversity as a strength and something which makes our society so special. I have no doubt that this culture of tolerance and respect in our city is the reason why, despite having such large and healthy Muslim and Jewish populations in Cape Town, we have managed to get through this time of extremely heightened global tension and extreme polarization with real pride and admiration. Communities have been free to express themselves on the war in the Middle East, but this has never boiled over into the kind of violence and hatred we've seen in so many other parts of the world. Our city has an openness and tolerance towards one another, and this is something that we as a city government have tried very hard to foster and encourage. Our explicit mission is to build a city where divisions based on race and religion are firmly and publicly rejected. One of the worst examples of polarization and extremism in our society, unfortunately, is the ever-increasing rise of xenophobia and the scapegoating of immigrants for economic and social hardships. Throughout South Africa, we are once again witnessing a marked increase in hostility towards foreigners, and particularly in the poorest communities. These sentiments are driven by unscrupulous and populist leaders who tap into people's frustrations and fears and their poverty, and then use this anti-immigrant hate for their own political gain. It is such an emotionally charged subject that has an incredibly polarizing effect in society. I'm proud that Cape Town is, to my knowledge, the only city in South Africa to have explicitly and repeatedly rejected xenophobia, and to say that our city will be a welcoming place to all who come to our country legally, and we will continue to do so. Cape Town has no place for those who prey on the fears and concerns of citizens by driving the hatred of others. Our mission is to build a united, strong Cape Town, and one of the best ways to do so is to physically build more diverse and integrated communities. That is why a particular focus and priority of my mayoralty has been to deliver more affordable housing in well-located parts of the city. This is one of the most effective ways to dismantle the spatial legacy of apartheid, which you can still see very visibly all around South Africa, to integrate communities and to build stronger, more united communities and a more united society. But there are other interventions too, through which we can and do combat and prevent extremism in our city. Following Cape Town's participation in the Strong Cities workshop in Nairobi 2 years ago, our Safety and Security Directorate here in the city of Cape Town adopted a framework specifically aimed at preventing the rise of violent extremism in Cape Town, based around 5 core pillars, namely communication, youth interventions, community partnerships, joint policing efforts, and research. This framework has been integrated into the broader work of our Safety and Security Directorate and our Metropolitan Police Department. The communication pillar is about using strategic communications, and specifically digital communications, to counteract narratives spread by extremist groups. By better understanding where radical and violent extremism is being amplified, what the motivation is, and by whom it is being amplified, we can develop our own counter-communication plan to counter those narratives. The second pillar of the framework is about engaging the youth through education initiatives. Here we've identified initiatives such as our Metro Police Youth Cadet Program, as well as our school resource officers, as areas in which we can reach young people and identify possible factors which might lead to extremism and try to intercept them before they do. The third pillar utilizes the strength of community partnerships, such as the city's dozens of neighborhood watches and other community-based organizations, to help prevent violent extremism from taking hold in communities, and to identify at an early stage any possible indicators. It also includes what we call the Safer Places of Worship project, which is a wonderful project which we are very proud of. We have rolled out an emergency response plan to places of worship across the city. Should an incident ever occur at a place of worship, local leaders in those places of worship will be well prepared and trained on exactly what to do and how to get in touch with the city immediately to get the help they need. We've trained members of nearly every religious group in the city, and this is really helping to bring those communities together in common training days and training spaces to understand the dangers of extremism and how they, as religious and faith leaders, can take proactive action to prevent those in their own congregations. The fourth pillar of the framework is about supporting joint policing efforts in the city through the establishment of the Safer Cities Nerve Center, an analytic hub that can play an important role in protecting communities by gathering, analyzing, and sharing threat intelligence. And the last pillar has to do with the ongoing research that needs to be done to fully understand the threat of violent extremism and the ways in which it can be combated. This includes the way that social media can be used to neutralize harmful messages and gather essential information that can be used to prosecute offenders. Extremist organizations already use the various social media extensively to spread their messages, and for the foreseeable future, this is going to be an important battleground, perhaps the most important battleground in fighting polarization and extremism. Cape Town may have been spared the worst of the world's extremism, but that doesn't mean it will always be the case, and that we should not be adequately prepared. Quite the opposite. In fact, we are trying to act proactively now so that we can continue to be an example to other cities and to the world of tolerance and social unity. I look forward to learning about all of your own experiences with building social cohesion and fighting polarization and extremism in your own contexts. While our circumstances around the world may be different and unique, the goal of wanting to build safer and more cohesive societies is universal, and we have much to learn from one another. I wish you all a very fruitful and productive Strong Cities Summit, and I hope that you have a wonderful time here in the Mother City. Enjoy Cape Town. Thank you very much.